Hello everyone, my name is Dusk and welcome to another episode of Shokz Video Guide. This is going to be our first interactive video, which means that throughout various sequences of the video, you're going to be able to click on the choices that Shokz has made in-game. So this is basically going to train your decision making. If you guys like really long and detailed videos, this is a good one for you. I explained almost every single facet of Shoksz's decision making in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my introduction. Hope you guys enjoy this. This guy, Shokz, will be playing against RGNSlush or RGNSlush. He was part of Team Rain before it broke up recently, but he has 815 points, 190 wins, and 44 losses, and he's currently a rank 2 Grandmaster player. I believe he was rank 1 before Nitrix Energy displaced him. Alright guys, Shokz will be spawning as the red Terran in the 6 o'clock position. His opponent, RGNSlush, will be spawning as the blue Zerg in the 9 o'clock position, and the map is Antigua Shipyard. Antigua Shipyard, known for somewhat of a macro game. The map distance, or the rush distance I should say, is somewhat short compared to the other maps like Tal'Darim and Tomb Valley, but the thing is that you can secure your third fairly easily just by securing this middle area, and so this is why a lot of Protoss and Terran players like to do that against Zerg, just because third is relatively easy for defend, and Zerg is limited in their options for aggressing. But on this map, there's the kind of the rotational imbalance that RGNSlush has against Shokz. For example, if he takes his third here, the gas can be sieged right here, and it's extremely easy to drop. And if Shokz does decide to push against RGNSlush, if he uses siege tanks, he can just siege up the main, and that can even help defend the fourth. And the fourth is also extremely close to Slush's natural and his third, so that's one of the things he's gonna have to watch out for, and that's one of the things that Shokz may take advantage of this game. And so the opener for Shokz is going to be the most standard opener in the world. You rally your 9th SCV to the ramp, build supply depot at 10, patrol your SCV in this little area here, build your racks at 13, and then you're going to be getting your gas at 13 for that Hellion. And so Shokz is going to be doing a Hellion expand this game, and after that we'll have to see what he transitions to. You want to rally your first Marine down here, and some players like to even rally their first Marine down here and patrol it like in that positions, and that basically prevents the drone from even getting up if you're on top of seeing your Marine, and that makes them think you're doing a 1-rack expand. But obviously trying to give the Zerg as little information as possible is ideal. Put 2 guys on gas when the gas finishes, and so it's fairly straightforward. Don't build an SCV at 15. Start your Marine and your orbital immediately. There you go. Very nice, very nice. Then you can just go scout with your SCV now, and this basically, the later you scout out with your SCV, the more of a little bit of a macro advantage you're gonna get. It's very minimal, but it's some of this stuff actually does matter late game or in higher levels of play. You just want to get every single advantage as possible and play as greedy as possible without losing the game. And so RGNSlush is trying to scout out where Shokz is. He actually took this direction, which is somewhat interesting. He wanted to scout out the main from this side, possibly trying to make Shokz think that RGNSlush is in this position. And so Shokz obviously scouting, not seeing the natural, and that should be a pretty good indication that the Zerg's not there. One base Zerg is absolutely awful. So we have RGNSlush doing the old 15 hatch, getting a later amount of gas, and he's going to be starting his pool or his metabolic speed boost if he plans on it a little bit later. Otherwise, he could just go roaches and anticipate the Hellion expand that Shokz is going to do. So it looks like he did get his gas, but still no guys on gas, possibly an accident. I'm not too sure. And right now RGNSlush is going to be scouting out with his 6 lings. I would have liked to see at least at most 4 lings. I don't think you need 6, just because most Terrans do open up with this Hellion expand kind of style, and you're really just kind of wasting your lings at that point. And it does look like RGNSlush is getting a roach right now, putting 3 guys on gas. So it looks like he might be going for a roach all-in, but more likely than not, he's going to be using those roaches just to get map control, and going to allow him to get his start a lot easier from the aggressing Shokz. So at this point, we have these Hellions coming out right now. They're right about to come out. RGNSlush obviously is going to be able to pressure this command center. Alright guys, so the question is, what should Shokz do next? What do you guys think would be the best form of play? Do you think he should put down a starport and harass RGNSlush with Banshees? Do you think he should get that starport to even maybe go medevacs for a medevac ledge drop kind of play? Do you think he could add on 2 more axes and go for a stimless Marine Hellion tank all-in? in which you would push with a few Marines, a tank, and make 4 more Hellions from this factory? Or do you think you should put down a 3rd orbital command and take the relatively close 3rd base nearby? Click one of the annotations on screen to make your decision. I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright guys, so if you guys pick the first option, building a starport, basically you would need to build that starport immediately after the factory, so you're already 30 seconds behind due to this Hellions that you made. And if you wanted to do damage with the factory or the starport, you're gonna have to choose either go cloak or cloakless. Getting cloak, you would require the 2nd gas, and it becomes extremely all-in just because if the Zerg decided to hit before your Banshee comes out, and even if your Banshee comes out with a Roach, Ling, Bane all-in, you're gonna have nothing to defend against it. Bunkers are obviously not gonna suffice versus Roach and Lings. It's just much better to go in for the safer option, which is a Marine tank, or just going, you know, Marine tank, but after getting your 3rd first. Getting your 3rd first is extremely important just because on this map it's especially easy to get your 3rd, and this is the same logic that applies for adding on 2 more Raxes. You're not going to be able to hit a timing with Stim just because by the time if you even did decide to get Stim, you'd have to start on the tech lab, and by that time they're going to have a lot better tech, and they can even see it with their reactionary, or they can even place down reactionary spine crawlers, and it's just kind of this risky play that you really don't need to do. I mean, on this map compared to some maps like Cloud Kingdom, there's really only one way to penetrate the Terran's bases in all 3 of these, and that's through this middle. And if you have a siege tank here, 2 bunkers here, and a few supply depots, it's going to be extremely hard for the Zerg to break through it. So there's really no need to take the risk. There's really no need to be aggressive at this point and go play whatever against the 3rd. Taking the orbital command is basically your best option. So I'm going to resume the game at this point. Shokz basically building only 2 Hellions, and I really like this choice from Shokz. This is because we're going on the theme of being safe, and so building more Hellions really doesn't do that much because on this map, obviously 1 spine crawler prevents these Hellions from going up. Obviously Shokz can't really see up here right now, and so he doesn't really know, but the fact that RGNSlush is going Roach, getting some Roaches to secure his own 3rd just makes it so if you got 6 or 2 Hellions, really it's not going to make that much difference. So that's why Shokz is getting his 3rd orbital command right now, getting that bunker in front just in case RGNSlush is going for the Roaches, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to be perfectly safe against low numbers of Roaches as long as there's no Baneling nest, and as you can see right after he made the first 2 Hellions, he did a quick swap and is starting to make tanks, so he's absolutely safe against any kind of all-in, and this is while he's getting a 3rd. Now getting your 3rd in Terran vs Zerg when the Terran gets his 3rd faster than the Zerg puts the Zerg in a really awkward position. Obviously Zerg is supposed to get his expansion earlier. And so at this point Shokz sees 3 Roaches. 3 Roaches is perfectly fine for the Zerg. He can obviously drone behind it like he is, and he's building a few more Roaches. Now as a Terran player, you're really going to have to react to this. So he sees the Roaches, and I'm just going to pause the game right here, right at this point where these Roaches poke up to the bunker. As you can see, he's perfectly safe to this poke. The Slush was hoping basically he didn't have a bunker, and all he had were Hellions or just naked Marines, which he could actually just trade some Roach health for some Marines, but that was not the case. At this point, there's going to be another decision-making point. So Shokz sees the Roaches. What is he going to do? Should Shokz, 1, build a starport and possibly make a Banshee from it? With that Banshee, he could pick off the Roaches, drive them all the way back, or pick off any of the Banelings in case RGNSlush is doing a Baneling all-in. Or should Shokz build 2 additional Raxes and make Marines from them, just Marines as a general unit? Or should 3 Shokz add Raxes and put tech labs on them and just go Marauders, as Marauders are exceptionally good against Roaches? Click one of the annotations on screen and we'll see you on the other side. Alright guys, so the first choice, should Shokz build a starport? And the starport reaction to Roaches, it's okay, and by okay I mean terrible. It's actually really bad. The reason is because starport, just like the previous explanation for the starport, you're building a starport later. So first of all, if you're going to attack the Roaches, there's no way you're going to do barely any damage to the RGNSlush. You're probably going to force maybe an evolution chamber and maybe an additional queen, but aside from that, you're not going to do anything else just because the starport timing is so very late. In the case that the Zerg player decides to go for a Roach, Bane, Ling all-in, you know, having that 1 Banshee out really is going to do that much. You might pick off a few Banelings, but then again, you know, you're going to have to build the starport, build the tech lab, and then build the Banshees. That's almost 2 minutes out, and so you're not going to really hit a timing where the Zerg player, if he does decide to do some Roachbane all-in, is going to be able to be any effective with a Banshee tech. And so the next option is add additional Raxes and build Marauders. Now obviously you'd build about 2 Raxes and build 2 Tech Labs on the Raxes, and the problem with that is, yeah, Marauders are really good against Roaches, but like as you know, any kind of good Zerg player, they're gonna tech switch out of what you have that can hard counter them. And as you can see, the Zerg player really isn't committing to Roaches as he's getting a metabolic boost at the moment. He's probably gonna go Ling Muta or Ling Infestor. And so getting those Marauders are obviously almost useless against Lings, Banelings, and Mutalists, and they're okay against Marauders, or okay against Infestors, but really not that good and when it gets a large number. So generally Marauders are a no-no against Zerg. You really just want to make more Marines, and so that is the best option. Make two Barracks, get a Tech Lab on one and get a Reactor on the other, and just start your Stim and Combat Shield research. And so I'm going to resume this game right now, and as you can see, Shokz has these 2 Hellions in front. This is really, really smart by Shokz. So he's basically scouting if the Zerg player is going to all-in him, and RGNSlush obviously being a master tactician, leaving a Roach on the low ground just to prevent these Hellions from staying here this entire time. And so Shokz really doesn't know what RGNSlush has on the high ground. He could have, you know, a fuck ton of Lings, and these Lings could be just be waiting for speed to go all-in, but because the speed timing is going to be really late, I highly doubt he is going to be going for those Lings. And so Shokz right now just trying to continually scout, just making sure that, because he doesn't know about the speed timing, he doesn't really know if RGNSlush is going to go for a Roach Ling Bane all-in. So he's just being really diligent about his scouting and trying to keep these Hellions alive. In the meantime, Shokz is getting these 2 additional barracks up. He's going to start his Tech Lab on one of them and start his Stim and Combat Shields consecutively on that. He also needs a second gas basically just to support constant siege tank production and to get that upgrade. And so really just kind of stale macro play at this point. We're gonna just keep watching and see how this goes. At this point, Shokz basically doesn't need to lit up the orbital and take his third, and that's because he really hasn't hit that point yet where his entire base is saturated. You also see a little bit of mistake from Shokz, some few idle workers, but yeah, at this point, he really doesn't need to get a really doesn't need to lift up and go to the third right now, just because with this really nice siege tank positioning, the Zerg player essentially has to basically go around like basically a maze at this point in order to get the siege tank, and it's going to be almost impossible for the Zerg player to get any relevant scouting information. And so really nice defense by Shokz. He's setting up a little bit of a supply depot wall, and that's because he went in with his Hellions a little bit earlier and he saw that there was no third, so he knew that the Zerg player either had to have just a tech advantage, which is as he's getting right now. He has his hatchery and he's going up to lair, or he is just going for a bigger army, which Zerg player kind of does. I mean, so realistically, the Zerg player doesn't need these Lings, as Shokz really wasn't planning on pushing. At this point, he only has you know, these few units, and these siege tanks really can't do that much of a pressure. Just because, you know, reactionary roaches can deal with almost all of this. And so at this point, Shokz is just going to be setting up these forward bunkers, and he's preparing to take his third expansion. He has some really nice siege tank positions, and this is going to make it extremely hard for the Zerg player just to go ahead and try to deny that of any kind. He has gotten a few Lings, and these Lings are basically just to get down these rocks. And the reason he wants to go to kill these rocks is because, you know, this third is extremely difficult for the Zerg player to hold. I think a siege tank here could even range this gas. If not, you know, dropping here and having siege tank support for the Marines is going to be extremely problematic for the Zerg player to deal with. So obviously getting these this fourth is going to be a good idea for the Zerg, and also because the fact that RGNSlush probably knows Shokz is going for this really fast third orbital command, he basically needs a fourth expansion to catch up in economy with the Terran player. At this point, RGNSlush is going for melee weapons, 1-1. Obviously, you would never get ranged weapons just because Roaches and Hydralisks are terrible against Terran. And Spire coming up, as well as Infestation Pit, Pathogen Glands, which is fairly interesting. So at this point, if Shokz does decide to scan the main, he's going to see the Spire, and this is just, RGNSlush is basically going to judge which tech he's going to go to based on if Shokz decides to scan or not, or just what he perceives from the front. More likely than not, he's probably going to get Infestor tech, and this is mainly because Due to the close air positions, the Terran player can just go for a really quick counterattack, and the Zerg player isn't really going to have that much time to react to maybe like a roach tank push if he just has Mutalisks. As you guys know, Mutalisks are terrible at defending, but great at harassing. And so we're going to watch this. Oh god, I had it in normal the entire time, but we're going to watch this. I'm going to speed it up a little bit actually, because it's just Shokz macroing. He's just playing the most kind of boring standard macro game that's extremely safe but also extremely advantageous, and this is some really nice siege tank positioning from Shokz, having it on the high ground. I'm just going to speed up a little bit here and just getting a bigger army for RGNSlush. He's researching a really fast 2-2. I really like this, and once he gets the first ground carapace, Shokz really needs that armory upgrade for the +1 siege tank attacks, or else he's not going to be able to one-shot a Ling. And we have RGNSlush having a few roaches here. This is just to prevent drops, as when you basically play a Zerg without going Mutalisks, you're not going to have very good defense against drops. And he's just placing these roaches against, you know, in the most probable place that Shokz may drop. So Shokz right now teching finally to his medevacs. He's got his combat shield on the way, and the timing that Shokz basically wants to push is when this combat shield finishes, he's going to have a few tanks, he's going to have a few medevacs, and he can possibly get the Zerg out of position by dropping his 4th and pushing through the front. So one thing to note at this point is that RGNSlush has complete vision of Shokz's base right now, so he knows whenever Shokz is going to push out, and this may prove a little problem as Shokz or RGNSlush is able to just basically hard counter when Shokz is doing and just hit those timings where it would match Shokz's timing. So at this point, combat shield is about to finish and Shokz is going in for the push. He's loading up a medevac, and this is to get him out of position. And we see something interesting from RGNSlush. He's actually going for a Nidus network, and so Shokz right now sitting forward a few Marines just to try to get rid of the creep tumors, and he's being really persistent. I'll call it persistent with these siege tanks, where just due to the kind of the spawning imbalance, it's really easy for Shokz to place these siege tanks right here, which is going to make it difficult for RGNSlush to even do anything, as these siege tanks in the main basically defend the 4th. But at this point, we do see RGNSlush running in with a Nidus network and with some Lings, and so we have a quick decision at this point of what Shokz should do to counter this. And so choice 1 is that he pulls everything back to defend the Nidus. Choice 2 is that he camps at the natural and allows the Zerglings to overtake his main, and just making sure the Zergling damage doesn't go any further. Choice 3, he drops his Marines in, and those Marines are going to attempt to take care of the Lings. And choice 4 is that he moves half his army back and pressures with the other half. So click one of the annotations on screen, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright guys, so the first option was pull everything back. As you can see, Shokz really isn't pushed out that far, and so pulling everything back is indeed an option. However, because of the horseshoe-shaped distance he has to walk through, where he has to go from the main all the way to the natural, it's actually kind of far. And so the problem with that is that first of all, if you take a look at the Lings, he sees that only Lings are coming out of the Nidus Swarm, and so basically when Lings are coming out, because the Nidus Swarm is limited by the amount of units that comes out per second, having only Lings means that the Zerg basically needs a while before he's going to have a sustainable or a big enough army in the main of the Terran player. So he does have a little bit of time, but if you walk everything back, you're gonna lose a lot of positioning, and you basically don't want to retreat past this point. And so if you walk everything back, like I said, it's not that bad, but there's definitely better options. The second option is to camp at the main, or camp at the natural and sack your main, and basically this is based on the premise that the Zerg player might have infestors come in. Generally, when you have Lings at 1-1 going on 2-2, infestors are extremely common, and especially on this map where there's going to be a quick counterattack route, infestors are going to be more common than Mutalisks. And so infestors might come out, and when you come with your Marines, you might get caught by a massive fungal as they try to go up this ramp, and so you might lose your entire army, and after that you might just lose all your production. But the thing is that if you sack your main, you have the majority of your production here, your 3 axes, your factory, and your starport. The only thing else you have is these other 2 reactive barracks and this factory. So if you sack your main, you're going to lose the majority of your production, and you really need to do everything you can to keep it. And so when you're coming up, make sure to spread your Marines, and because you're fighting Lings with this low surface area and it's going to be in your own base, you're going to have a pretty big advantage with Marines anyway. And so the third option, drop in your Marines, that could work, and definitely could be combined with one of the other options. The problem is that when you're dropping your Marines, these Lings are going to be rushing towards it, and they're not going to be in very high numbers, so your siege tanks won't be able to splash on them extremely well. Plus, due to the fact that the siege tanks have no attack upgrade, means that they're going to be two-shotting these Lings, and that's just going to hurt your Marines more than it hurts Lings. If a Zergling's attacking a Marine and the siege tank shoots it, both the Marine and the Zergling takes the same amount of damage. And so if you drop your Marines in one at a time, your siege tanks are going to splash down your Marines almost at the same rate as these Zerglings are going to be spawning, and obviously Zerglings are cheaper than Marines, and so it's not going to be that effective. I think the best option is basically move half your army somewhere like that towards and unsiege this tank, obviously, and go ahead and attack this destructible debris, and also move half your army back. You can also take, you know, these Marines and these ones inside the bunker, and just take them back and attack these Lings. Because these Lings are attacking into your barracks, you're gonna have pretty good. Their Lings are gonna have not very good surface area to attack your Marines, and they're also gonna be aggroed on stuff like your refinery or your starport. That's basically, you're probably not gonna die, and it's gonna give your Marines good time to go ahead and take out these stray Lings, basically. And because of the fact that Slush has a Nidus Swarm, you can bet he's going to have a lot of units inside, which means that a counterattack option is going to be extremely small, as in order to go ahead and defend his base, he's going to have to basically spawn units out of his own Nidus Swarm, and it's going to be limited by how fast he can spawn units out. And so counterattacking is going to be extremely strong, and we're going to go ahead and unpause it at this point. Alright, so Shokz is pulling back half his army. As you can see, the Marines are stimming and coming back up. They're picking out these Lings extremely easily, and like I said before, due to the low surface area, these Marines are going to be able to pick off these Lings fairly well, even with low numbers of Marines that probably would never be able to beat these Lings in open ground. And right now the Infestors are coming out, and one of the things you guys should note is that Shokz could have just easily moved a medevac here and focused down this Nidus Swarm, and just prevented all that and have only about 15 or so Lings come out. But it really doesn't matter at this point, because Shokz basically traded very effectively. As his Marines were coming up the ramp, they didn't really clump up that much, and one of the big mistakes he made, however, was letting this orbital command die, as you can see right here. But that's not really a big deal, as Shokz took advantage of the situation, and he is pressuring slowly with his small Marine tank ball. Meanwhile, he is dropping in the third. So right now at this point we have this Ultralisk coming out, and Shokz just saw this Ultralisk. Now Marines and medevacs, we're going to pause at this point, Marines and medevacs are really not that good against Ultralisks. So now that Ultralisks have entered the field, what do you guys think would be the best course of action for Shokz to counter these Ultralisks? Should he get Ghosts and use the snipe ability? Should he get perhaps another factory and add on more siege tanks? Or should he get another barracks with tech labs and go Marauders against these Ultralisks? Click on one of the annotations above, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright guys, so the first option was to create Ghosts, in which Shokz would have to add on a barracks, a tech lab, and a Ghost Academy. And at this point, I don't believe that is a good choice, just because Ghost snipe damage was heavily nerfed from 45 to 25, basically making it unusable against Broodlords and Ultralisks. And so Shokz also does not have a Ghost Academy, and he doesn't have the he doesn't have the Mobius reactor, obviously, because he doesn't have the Ghost Academy. And it's really not cost effective to make Ghosts before the Mobius reactor upgrade is finished. And so Ghosts are basically a long way, and they're really not feasible for Shokz at this point. The second option was to make siege tanks. Siege tanks are okay against Ultralisks. They do 50 damage, but the thing is that because of the size of the Ultralisk, they only hit one, and they're not going to be able to hit anything around it. And due to their low attack speed, that equates to very, very low DPS on the Ultralisk compared to how expensive a siege tank is, and how limited their production is just by the amount of factories you have. And so the best choice, I believe, is Marauders. Marauders are obviously very limited against Zerg, but Ultralisk being one of the special cases, Marauders are extremely good against. The thing you guys have to keep in mind is to not overproduce these Marauders. They're very cheap, they make very quickly, and Shokz already has a few tech labs. He is also making another tech lab here, and so he's going to have a few tech labs to just pump out these Marauders. You guys have to keep in mind that it's also especially important to not overproduce Marauders, as a Muta switch or just a pure Ling switch will completely decimate, or not decimate, but destroy you guys. Fun fact, decimate actually means to kill 10% of your army. they used it back when you captured an army or something. They killed every 10th person. So when you decimate something, it means you only kill 10% of them, and it's kind of funny how people use it. But I'm gonna resume this game. In the meantime, Shokz is actually dropping the 3rd. So basically, if Shokz can secure, can accurately, or not accurately, but safely kill this 3rd, RGNSlush is essentially going to be on 2 base, and he's just going to be extremely far ahead, because at this point Shokz is just on 3 bases. He's gearing up to take his 4th right now. He's probably going to take his 4th right here, and it's going to be extremely difficult for RGNSlush to actually do anything if he does decide to planetary that, or even go a little bit greedier and go orbital command that. Little bit of mistake by RGNSlush running his overseers or overlords in. But one thing you guys should note about Shokz's play is that, first of all, he made a mistake by not getting vehicle weapons lens. This is extremely important, as his siege tanks no longer one-shot these lings that have 2 additional armor. But anyway, one thing you guys should note is that note the positioning of these siege tanks. They're extremely staggered, and basically at this point only 1 siege tank can hit this hatchery at a time. And what that makes it so is that he takes his mobile phase of Marines and Marauders, and this just runs around all day long when the Zerg player does decide to commit, because the Zerg player is making mostly melee units with Zerglings, Banelings, and Ultralists and Infestors to a certain extent. These Marines and Marauders are just going to run back all day long while they're getting healed in medevacs, while the Zerg player is just taking heavy splash damage from these siege tanks. And so extremely good play from Shokz. And Shokz right now dropping into the main of the Zerg player, just being extremely annoying. And he's basically just taking advantage of the fact that the Zerg player doesn't have any Mutalisks, and so his drops are going to be extremely successful, which also limits basically how far the Zerg player can decide to expand. And so if you take a look at the map right now at this point, Shokz is gearing up to take his 4th. The Zerg player is essentially on 2 bases, and he's extremely behind. Now, in population wise, he's not behind, but and everything else wise, he's extremely behind. And this is one of the problems, I believe, with Antigua Shipyard allowing these positions. And so that's one of the advantages that Shokz inherently got, but that's not to take away from the fact that Shokz is also an extremely good player. So right now, the Zerg player does look like he's gearing up for a slight counterattack, and that's really smart. You know, counterattacks are extremely devastating against Terran because he's got these siege tanks. They're extremely immobile, and at this point, Shokz really does need to push in. I mean, he's ahead on bases. Zerg player just got this 3rd, and he has to knight us over there basically because this area is kind of dead space. And so he's just trying to get back into this game by doing counterattacks when the Terran player is heavily entrenched. So we're going to pause the game right here, and we are going to see. Wait, hold on. Let's let the Zerg player break through these rocks first. Alright, we're going to pause the game right here. At this point, Shokz basically, I believe he knows about this counterattack. Let's take a look at his army. We're going to go a little bit further here. Alright, so at this point, Shokz definitely knows about the counterattack. He sees a few Lings, 4 Ultralists, and 3 Infestors. And so at this point, Shokz has to make a decision. And what does he want to do? First of all, does he want to split up attack and defense? Just basically box half his army, go attack, box half his army, and go defend with his siege tanks attacking? Or does he want to do the exact same thing but with siege tanks defending? And the third option is, does he want to back everything except for the tanks and just move all his Marines and Marauders? This will definitely kill the army, and the siege tanks will provide at least a little bit of defense in case the Zerg player does decide to rush forward, perhaps take this 4th, and even try to get the natural. So click on one of the annotations, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright guys, option 1 was the split attack and defense. Basically half the Marines to attack and half the Marines to defend, and the tanks would go and attack. One of the problems with this is, first of all, this is a kind of a substantial force, especially with these 4 Ultralists, and having these, 6 or so, or whatever, 12 or so units to go and attack and defend is really not ideal. You're going to basically need to send more, and then it's going to be inefficient at that point because these units are going to be damaging your buildings. When you go attack with your tanks, you really want a big army to go and take damage for it, so the tanks can do damage. It's kind of like how Perdos never sends out naked Colossus by themselves. They always have gateway units to support, so that the Colossus has room to kite and has room to just do their damage while the gateway units take the damage. And this is kind of the same thing. You really want as much of a Marine Marauder force as possible, or else you're going to risk your tanks getting picked off one at a time. So splitting attack and defense with the tanks attacking, not a good idea. back up all your infantry to go and attack the infestor and these 4 ultralisks. That's definitely going to kill it, but if you just leave your tanks naked, these tanks don't even have the +1 vehicle weapons, and so if the Zerg player, like he's making lings right now, if he just runs in with a large amount of lings, he's able to clear up your tanks extremely cost effectively, trading only lings, which he has excess amount because of his minerals, for your precious tanks, which are limited by the fact that you only have 2 factors. So that's definitely not the option. The best option is to split the attack and defense and unsiege your tanks and defend. Because tanks are extremely good against both ultras and infestors, you're gonna be able to basically keep your tanks alive and able to defend. So we're gonna unpause the game right now. And Shokz, as you can see, splitting up a few. Now he actually made the mistake of only splitting his infantry and going up and attacking. Obviously this was a good idea, but he left his tanks here idle for a second. So as you can see, these units are not adequately able to defend, and he also made the mistake of sieging your tanks against ultralisks. You really should never do that. Always keep your tanks unsieged. And so finally, I believe at this point he's going to do it in a sec, still doing really nice amounts of damage with his Marines and Marauders, keeping them nice and split so that the infestors don't really have a good chance to fungal, and he's finally moving these siege tanks back now that the ultralisks have gone in and just basically done substantial damage. A little bit of mistake by Shokz, but obviously everyone's learning, and so Shokz isn't perfect. At least he goes ahead and saves his orbital at this point, and his little bit of an infantry attack really did really good amounts of damage. He basically just made the Zerg player trade infestors and ultralisks and Zerglings for his really cheap and replaceable bio, while keeping all of his tanks alive. And so at this point, Shokz, he's retaining back his map control. He's on 4 bases, and so is the Zerg, except the Zerg really can't, saturate his 3rd and 4th extremely well, and he's a little bit extended while dealing with his 4th base. And so at this point, we see Shokz moving in and just trying to secure his natural. A little bit of a ling run by there, kind of a lull, and he is keeping tabs on the 3rd of the Zerg opponent with this 1 siege tank. So he's moving in to set up the contain. He has a really nice number of siege tanks, a medium number of Marines and Marauders, and of course the Zerg player being extremely annoying, coming back in with more lings, and Shokz just trying to defend against this. Now we're gonna pause a little bit at this point. So he has his entire contain set up. At this point, do you guys think we should slow push the main? And what I mean by that is siege up closer to the ledge near the main and drop the Marines and Marauders in, poke with that, and repeat and rinse, try to pick off some crucial tech. Do you think we should attack the 3rd by just leaving the siege tanks there and moving a small number of Marines and Marauders to go and poke at the 3rd? Do you think we should push into the natural with our siege tanks, slow push of course, and just try to go end the game? Click on the annotation for what you guys think is the right choice, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright guys, the first choice was to slow push the main through the ledge, and the 3rd choice was to push into the natural through the big ramp, I assume. And this is all after taking care of this ling run by, of course, which shouldn't be really that hard with these Marines here. But both of these options are good, but they're kind of overly aggressive at this point. We really don't know what RGNSlush has, and if he gets lucky and catches us with our siege tanks off guard, he might come in and go ahead and just kill everything of Shokz, and RGNSlush will be back in this game. So at this point, Shokz knows that, if you take a look at Shokz's vision, he knows that the RGNSlush has his 3rd and has his 4th, and he also knows that he just recently got that, and so he's very poor. He really probably doesn't have a very big army, and Shokz is kind of ahead just because he delayed, he was ahead on bases versus RGNSlush for quite a while, just until recently he got this 4th, and even so, 4-base Terran versus 4-base Zerg, 4-base Terran obviously is ahead. So at this point, the best thing to do is to leave these tanks here, leave a few Marine and Marauders here. I would like to see 1 or 2 Marines and Marauders here. He does have the Marauder here for high ground vision, which is nice. And just go and direct the rest of your units, go take out the 3rd and the 4th. As Artosis says, the best way to get ahead is to get even more ahead, and he does that by safely defending or safely preventing the Zerg player from breaking out, as well as destroying all the Zerg expansions. So the only way for Slush to defend his expansion is through this Nidoswarm, and obviously you're not going to be able to get out a large amount of units through those Nidoswarms very quickly and react to what the Terran's sending, especially after RGNSlush threw away all these lings and And yeah, so I'm going to resume this game at this point, and we're going to watch Shokz proceed on to just safely playing this game. He pulled away his SCVs from the gold, so right now he has a good time to go ahead and put them back on, and right now he's positioning his units just to go ahead and destroy that fourth. I'd like to see, once again, like I said, a few Marines, and yes, he is putting them. They ideally should be ahead, but that's really not that big of a deal at this point. And so this large amount of Marines and Marauders, well, not necessarily large, but this moderate amount of Marines and Marauders, very nice, taking out the Nidus Swarm at first, so no reinforcements can come, and then at this point, you know, the Zerg expansion is basically dead. And so Shokz can now basically focus on the front. He really doesn't have to worry too much about any counterattacks, and he probably is going to send a large, or just a few, or probably to the rest of this actually, to go up here and just take out the fourth, and then he would be 4-base Terran versus 2-base Zerg, and Zerg is almost mined out at his main, and his natural is kind of dwindling, and so the Zerg player basically is going to have to make some move pretty soon. So we're going to just keep watching. Shokz doing that, and I believe some counterattacks by RGNSlush, but it's kind of futile at this point. At this point, Shokz is sufficiently ahead, yes, but he hasn't won the game yet, and so his next few decisions are crucial. He could either throw away the game by being overly aggressive and giving the Zerg a chance to come back, or he could keep his lead and end the game promptly. And so let's go over a few decisions he can make. Should he A, scout for hidden expansions, B, build starports in case there's a Broodlord transition or something like that, C, spread his army in case the Zerg player tries to break out, or D, do every single one of the things above. Click on the annotations on your screen, and I'll see you guys on the other side. The SCV moving towards the top was actually a small hint. Shokz was planning on scouting with this SCV, and he'll be doing so shortly. If we take a look at the map right now, Shokz is significantly ahead, and he probably knows this as he just took out 2 recently up mining expansions from RGNSlush. So RGNSlush is basically on 2-base, and they're both almost mined out. And so at this point, all of the choices are correct. Obviously, scouting for hidden expansions is always going to be good, so you know where to drop. The next one, building starports, because Shokz is a hefty Marine tank army and it's bigger than the Zerg's army, he can keep making these Marine tanks, and that'll be basically good against everything, even Ultralisks. And also splitting your tanks would make it exceptionally good against Ultralisks. With that spread, it's going to make it really hard for the Zerg to come down and focus fire. And so the final thing is build starports, because at this point the only thing that RGNSlush can do to break out, if he doesn't make a sufficiently large army, which he can't because he's on lower bases, is these Broodlords. So you can see he only made 2 because he's that poor, and building starports would be obviously a good reaction against Broodlords. At this point, Shokz is sending in small numbers of Marines to go ahead and try to snipe the Broodlords. You want to do this because you don't want to send all your Marines, as the Infestors are just going to absolutely destroy them. And there's really a low chance of Shokz actually going to be able to win this game. But he actually does manage to kill off a single Broodlord with a single Marine, which is pretty impressive. RGNSlush actually losing his changelings to Broodlord shot, and he loses both his Broodlords, and he is almost at a mining basis, so he basically has to all in at this point with a really nice spread of Shokz and just a great positioning of his units. RGNSlush is forced to tap out. He has no more army, and the game is basically over, as well as the fact that Shokz scouted out all of RGNSlush's hidden expansions. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave in the section below. I apologize for my microphone quality. You may have noticed it slightly throughout the video. It is 5 a.m. and I'm really tired. My microphone was giving me some problems, so I'm sorry about that. This is our first interactive video, so I'd really greatly appreciate any kind of feedback, comments, or suggestions for our next one. We're obviously going to do a Zerg or Protoss one. I know I've said basically, obviously, a lot, and at this point, so sorry about that, you guys. If you guys like guides like this, visit us at shoksguide.com/videos. You'll see a link in the annotation above. But basically, I create guides for every single race, for every single build order, and we're adding new videos every single other day, and all of our replays come from Shokz, who is a Grandmaster random player. And I believe currently he is a top 16 player. I think he recently dropped, however, but he switches out of top 16 quite often. My name is Dusk, and I'll see you.